Power is a lonely thing when you have already reached the ceiling of your world. King Gray lived a life defined by martial perfection and the cold silence of a throne room that felt more like a cage than a reward. When he closes his eyes for the last time, he expects the end, but instead he finds a beginning that forces him to relearn everything he thought he knew. The weight of an entire world rests on the shoulders of a child who remembers what it means to be a god among men. This is the foundation of the beginning after the end, and it is the reason the hype for this adaptation reached a fever pitch before a single frame was ever shown. But as the first trailers arrived, the community shifted from pure excitement to a devastating comparison with Solo Leveling that changed the conversation entirely. The beginning after the end is finally stepping into the light, but it is doing so in the shadow of a visual giant that might be setting it up for an impossible battle. We have to talk about why the absolute hype for Arthur Lewin seems to have cooled, and whether we are being fair to one of the greatest stories in the medium. For years, the fans of this series have looked at the success of Solo Leveling as the blueprint for what was possible. When A1 Pictures brought Sung Jinwoo to life, they did not just make an anime, they created a visual spectacle that redefined what we expect from a webtoon adaptation. Every frame of Solo Leveling felt like it was injected with pure adrenaline and high-contrast shadows that made every fight feel like a cinematic event. Naturally, when TBATE was announced, the collective imagination of the internet assumed we were getting that same level of high-octane production. We wanted the elemental mastery of Arthur to have the same crushing weight as the shadows of the monarch. But when the first look at Studio A Cat's work arrived, the reaction was not universal praise, but a sudden realization of a production gap. If Solo Leveling is a high-budget blockbuster designed to move at a breakneck pace, then TBATE is a grand fantasy epic that needs room to breathe. The comparison is inevitable because they both represent the peak of their respective genres, but the visual languages are worlds apart. Solo Leveling relies on a gritty and sharp aesthetic that makes every movement feel dangerous and immediate. The beginning after the end, however, is leaning into a more traditional and softer fantasy palette that has left some fans feeling like the hype has evaporated. Is it a lack of quality, or is it simply a mismatch of expectations based on what Solo Leveling convinced us was the only way to adapt these stories? We have reached a point where if a show does not have the same level of digital post-processing as a top-tier action hit, it is labeled as a disappointment. This narrative of from absolute hype to nothing is a dangerous trap that ignores the actual substance of what makes Arthur's journey special. In Solo Leveling, the story is a vehicle for the power fantasy, and the animation is the engine that drives it. It is a beautiful and effective machine that knows exactly what it is trying to be. But TBATE is built on a different foundation, where the internal monologue and the slow progression of the magic system are the real stars. When Arthur is struggling to form his first mana core, the tension does not come from a flashy explosion, but from the mental discipline of a king trapped in a child's body. The animation in Solo Leveling is meant to make your heart race, while the animation in TBATE needs to make you feel the scale of the world. We are seeing a clash between two different philosophies of production. One studio chose to focus on the raw intensity of the combat, while the other is trying to build a world that can sustain hundreds of chapters of growth. It is fair to say that the visual impact of TBATE does not hit with the same sledgehammer force as Solo Leveling. But it is also fair to say that the story of King Gray has a depth and an emotional core that Solo Leveling never intended to explore. The hype for TBATE did not die because the story got worse. It died for some because they were looking for a mirror image of a different show. We have to ask ourselves if we want every adaptation to look like Solo Leveling, or if we want them to reflect the unique spirit of their own source material. The core events of TBATE are massive and life-changing, from the journey through the Elshire Forest to the eventual Academy arcs. If we judge those moments only by how they compare to a different studio's work, we miss the brilliance of the character writing. The beginning after the end is one of the pillars of the new era of animation because it proves that we can have complex and mature stories in the isekai genre. Arthur is not a blank slate protagonist who is simply strong for the sake of being strong. He is a man haunted by the mistakes of his past, and the animation needs to capture those quiet moments of reflection just as much as the big fights. Solo Leveling gave us a masterclass in style, but TBATE is trying to give us a masterclass in substance. The drop in hype is a temporary reaction to a visual shock, but the quality of the narrative is what will keep people watching in the long run. We should be looking at the TBATE anime as its own entity and not as a competitor in a production war. The way Arthur interacts with his family and the way he hides his true identity are scenes that require a subtle touch in direction. If the show was overproduced with the same dark and heavy filters, as Solo Leveling, those warm family moments would feel out of place. The vibrancy of the TBATE world is a choice that reflects the hope of a second chance at life. It is a story that starts in the light and slowly descends into the shadows as the true threats of the world are revealed. If the animation starts at a 10, where does it have left to go when the real wars begin? We have to trust that the production is packing itself for the long journey ahead. Solo Leveling is a sprint, but the beginning after the end is a marathon. The hype might feel lower right now because the initial shock of the art style has worn off. But once the story reaches its first major turning point, the conversation will shift back to the narrative. We are entering an era where these global webtoon properties are finally getting the attention they deserve. But with that attention comes a level of scrutiny that can be suffocating for a new production. Comparing everything to the highest possible bar set by a different studio is a quick way to lose the joy of watching anime. The beginning after the end is a top-tier story that has a heartbeat and a soul that is entirely its own. The animation is a tool to tell that story, and while it might not be the same visual earthquake as Solo Leveling, it is still a significant achievement. It is a show that invites you to care about the characters and their place in a massive and dangerous world. The hype has not turned to nothing, it has simply changed shape. It has moved from the surface-level excitement of a trailer to the deeper anticipation of seeing a masterpiece unfold. Go into this show with an open mind and let the story of Arthur Lewin speak for itself. Compare the feeling of the magic and the weight of the decisions, and you will see why this series is still a giant. The king has returned, and he does not need to look like anyone else to reclaim his throne. Whether you are a long-time reader or a newcomer, the journey of the beginning after the end is worth your time. It is a reminder that the best stories are the ones that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. The animation is the gateway, but the heart of the show is why we stay. Solo Leveling gave us a glimpse of the future, and TBATE is here to give us a world we can live in. So take a breath and step away from the comparison videos for a moment. Watch the show for the story it is trying to tell, and not the show you wanted it to be. The absolute hype is still there if you know where to look. It is in the quiet moments of Arthur's realization and the epic scale of his potential. The new era of animation is here, and it is more diverse than we ever imagined. Enjoy the ride, and let the world of TBATE prove why it belongs at the top.